So it is 8:15 Alabama time, Central Time Zone. Thought I'd come back and do a quick late afternoon video of the garden. This is probably my favorite time of the day. Lights have just come on. These are some new garden lights we installed just recently. Basically candles on a timer and some nice baskets. Just installed these a couple days ago. Some new plants here. These are pinky winky hydrangeas. It's a new plant for me. I always tend to leave the tag on there until I can get everything documented. It's a nice view from up here. You can kind of see we've got some Russian sage. These beds are always very dry for whatever reason, so Russian sage does well in very dry soil. So we're gonna give that a shot and see. Peach trees looking great. Hopefully in another few weeks we'll have some peaches. Most all of our peaches are either Belle of Georgia or a Haven. I believe it's actually a Red Haven. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, as promised, 4 o'clocks are officially blooming. And they are beautiful. You can kind of see just a huge flush of blooms. And they smell amazing. It's almost like a tuberose. Our tomatoes there to the left. Squash, watermelons, tomatoes up on the hill. Flower beds here. Some zinnias, just doing awesome down there. Cucumber vines, looking really nice. We had a full week of rain last week, almost every day, and could not work in the garden for literally an entire week. So the last 3 days have been spent trying to catch up, get everything back somewhat maintained and weeded. I'm a little on the OCD side, which doesn't always go well with gardening, but you see our corn path out here. So these are rattlesnake beans that are growing on this trellis. A lot of people like to use hog wire. I had this welded wire left over from our house construction. Worked out great. Eventually I'll change that out probably to a cattle panel. There you can see the path of the corn. Every year I'm always a little timid about walking down an aisle of corn where you can't see the ground. So I decided to make a little wider row, actually put some stone in. Every season I also change my design of the garden. This season I decided to go with this axis up the middle here, dividing the garden into more or less quadrants. So I would have easy access with wheelbarrows or whatever I needed to get compost or fertilizer to where it needs to be without compacting the soil too bad. See our farm in the background up here. We are actually a wedding venue. Been in business for 10 years, and this is our original structure. And, it's kind of a party barn. We have several buildings. That's our kitchen there, and some other buildings are in the back, but this time of year, I like to focus on gardening. It's our tomatoes, and as I mentioned earlier, this is our Better Boy tomatoes. Again, my number one tip I would give to any gardener for tomato growing is when you find a variety that works and is disease resistant, take that one tomato, isolate it, plant a bunch of them. That will yield the best crop of tomatoes. You see we're just a couple weeks away hopefully from some ripe ones. And then experiment with other varieties that keep them separate. Don't prune them on the same day. Don't water them together. Don't get close to them and cross-contaminate anything. It seems a little overkill, but it for sure makes a difference. And here's some new ones we just planted today. I like to stagger my plantings so that even though these are indeterminate and will grow pretty much to the end of the season, I like to have a few extra plantings just to make sure that we have tomatoes coming in until frost. Our squash looking awesome. I'm sure there's probably some ripe ones down there I need to pick. You see the path. This is the main garden access that goes over to our shed, where I keep all my farm supplies, fertilizer, hand tools. And this is actually a canna that was given to us maybe 5-6 years ago now. It was a single little sprout, and if anybody knows anything about cannas, they are very invasive, and it's a beautiful plant, but one of our couples that got married at the farm, his father was an avid gardener, and was very kind to come back the following day with a plant and donated it to the farm. So I gave it its own bed, and it is beautiful when they're all in full bloom. The colors are just beautiful. We do a lot of photography as well, so we'll come down sometimes and take pictures with that in the background. This is our heirloom tomatoes down here. These were given to us by one of our favorite caterers that comes out to the farm. Her name is Luann Hastings. She does amazing catering here in Northeast Alabama and grows all of her own vegetables, starts all of her tomatoes by seed. I wish I could say I did the same. I'm guilty of going to Lowe's and local co-ops and purchasing all the main varieties, but that's mainly just because I like to stick with that one Better Boy, and then I'll play with a few other tomatoes. But she was kind enough to bring me these 6 plants, and they are doing awesome. This bed actually was a spearmint bed until this year, so it has not had tomatoes planted in it in probably 6 or 8 years, so I think that's why it's doing so well. Tomatoes do much better in newly tilled soil that they have not had anything growing in, especially other tomatoes. Crop rotation, very important, especially on high feeders like tomatoes and corn. You never want to have those growing in the same place back-to-back years. And dill. Hopefully we'll be doing some cucumbers and pickles this year. We have some radishes. This is dragon's tail. I pointed that out a little earlier today. Again, a favorite plant. And even though it was a little late to start these, I've got some carrots coming up. These guys are looking nice. You can see them there. And then some radishes over here. And these are our raised beds. And even though they're very fertile, they're just not our best beds. They get the last bit of light for the day, but they don't get the morning light until nearly 11:30. That's our goats over here. They're wondering what I'm doing. Just a little bit noisy. This is Goose. That is Iceman, and Maverick, who's the smart one. He's over in the house chilling. All right, that's full garden tour. Well, kind of. I'll do another one in another week or so when we actually start to get some tomatoes and have more flowers in bloom. It's not a terribly high producing garden, but I think it's a very pretty garden, and one that's taken me the better part of 10 years to get to this point. So, thanks so much.